Hey everybody, Erin from the Impatient Gardener here with Sunflower Steve.
Hey guys.
And he is going to show us some little tricks that he does with wreaths today. So I'm just going to let Sunflower Steve take over.
All right, thanks. Okay, so when we used to do farmers markets, we used to make wreaths. I actually have a wreath maker. I'd buy the rings and we'd forage all the stuff and get it all together and make wreaths. We kind of went away from that, but I still had customers and people that wanted wreaths, really nice, really tricked out looking wreaths. So I'm just going to show you how you can take a plain wreath and add a bunch of nice stuff to it to make it look like a fabulous wreath. All right, so the first thing I'm going to add is some of this sumac. It's just a nice subtle red. It's not as bright a red as the berries. And the same thing, you just go right behind the ones that are already on the wreath I got. Just feed it through there. Sometimes you have to wire it in, but usually you can jam it in far enough. So I'll just take a few of these little guys. Like that. One more. Oh, that one I missed. All right. And then I'm going to take some of the winterberry here. The winterberry that I use for bunches, believe it or not, this is all the stuff that I was throwing on the ground because you can't put a sleeve around this, it'll just all crunch up. So I have to cut all the smaller branches off the bottom, which is great because then it winds up giving me something I can use for wreath. Oh, and also I like to put a nice sharp edge on it, like that, so it fits through the material that's already on there and into the wire itself. This is Ilex Winter Red is this variety.
And what do you use for a pollinator for that?
It comes with its own, I think that one's called Southern Gentleman. Yeah, I think it's called Southern Gentleman.
And what's the ratio that you use of females to males?
I put 5 females in a row and then I put 1 male.
Okay.
And you can actually see that the male plants get enormous, but obviously they don't have any flowers on them. So there is another variety called Berry Heavy, which the branches do get a lot more berries on them than the Winter Red, which is hard to believe because these are really covered. But I like the Winter Red because it's a little more airy. The branches are a little more spread out. They're not so compact and tight. I kind of like that negative space of it, but to each his own. So now I'm throwing in a little bit of the Afterglow, it's called. I'm just throwing a couple little smaller berries on these. Otherwise, I think it gets to be too much if if the berries were all the exact same amount. The clusters were huge. I think it would just be too much. Like we talked on the planter, just because you have all the material doesn't mean you need to use it, which is hard to do when you have all the material. Okay, come on, get in there. So you can see we're starting to get a little nicer looking as the berries. So now you've got the blue from the Juniper, the red from the Winter Red, and the orange from the Afterglow. I would normally put in the pine cones myself. Thank goodness they were already wired in, one less step for me. Now I'm gonna see what this looks like. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of this cedar here because I like the gold tips on it. I think it just gives it a little bit of, I don't know, panache.
Well, it's a little contrast too, that that adds just that another color to that evergreen layer.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw it in on top of this brighter green here, so they have kind of the brighter green than this with a little bit of gold, just to have a little more contrast. Now, where they are sticking through, if some of them are a little loose, you can come through and wire those in or zip tie them in if you want. But generally, if it's just on your door and you don't have kids that want to rip it off, it'll probably sit there just fine. I usually like to throw a little red twig dogwood, but I think with the sumac and the berries, I think we already have plenty of red. So now these are birch branches off a birch tree that I sprayed them with a water-based paint with an airless sprayer. And I like just throwing a little white in there. It gives a little bit of texture too as it kind of pulls it away from the wreath to make it not look so symmetrical. I like a little bit of asymmetrical. Most of it's round, but when you throw this in where it's out of the frame of the wreath a little bit, I kind of like that, how it kind of sticks out. Okay, there we go. So, and if you want to take a bow, and I'm not a big bow guy, but if you wanted to tie a bow on there and complete it, there you go. You took a plain wreath, added a few things to it in what, 5 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it looks great. And I love the white in it. I think the white is adds so much dimension because there's a lot of color going on there.
And this is staying here for you. Merry Christmas.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. We're going to go hang that on the door right now. All right, well, thank you for that. That was
You're welcome.
that was
That was
super
fun.
fun. Look at how beautiful it is hanging on the door. I love it. And you know what? I think that, I mean, I really love all those colors in there. You couldn't ask for more color even if you put a bow on it. or
No,
something like
I
that.
think a bow would be overkill. And you know what you said earlier when you're doing the planter, I've never done, I usually do this by myself. It is
Yeah.
fun to have somebody else to do it with.
It is, absolutely. All right, so before we go, I just want to ask quickly for an update on the great sunflowers.
Oh, sure. Okay, I'm gonna put myself under the gun here. I will have the newsletter out by December 1st. It's mostly done. I just need to have it proofed and throw some pictures in it. I've never done a newsletter before, so this is a first for me. I don't know if it's too long or too short, so we'll find out. But no, going really, really well, and we'll most of the information on the sunflower will be coming out in the newsletter.
Great.
So if you haven't signed up, you can go on my Instagram account and go under my profile, and you can find a place to sign up for the newsletter.
All right, thank you so much for coming. Super great to have
You're
you here. How nice of you. What a lovely gift. It's beautiful. I love it. All right, I hope you guys are having a great day in the garden. Go do something fun with a gardening friend. It's great.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye, everybody.